I grew up in the heart of Jerusalem, a stone's throw from the ancient walls that have seen centuries of faith, conflict, and devotion. As a boy, I was deeply rooted in Orthodox Judaism. My days were filled with rituals, prayers, and the weight of tradition passed down through generations. I never questioned it. I never thought I'd believe in anything else, but life has a way of shaking you to your core. Everything changed the day I died. Yes, actually died, and came back. In that moment, between this world and the next, something happened that I still struggle to explain. I encountered him, Jesus. It wasn't a dream, and it wasn't a vision. It was real, more real than anything I'd ever known. When I shared this truth, everything I knew fell apart. My family disowned me. The military I served turned its back on me. I lost my community, my identity, everything except my faith. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to testify. Because when you see truth, you can't unsee it. I'm Eitan, 29, from Israel. And if you're watching this, tell me where you're from. Let's pray together. Truth speaks, and it sets you free. I was raised in a home where faith wasn't just a part of life. It was the very foundation of everything I knew. My family is Orthodox Jewish, and the heart of it all was my grandfather. He wasn't just respected, he was revered. His presence filled the room before he even spoke. His eyes, sharp and unwavering, carried a quiet authority. When he spoke, you listened, not out of fear, but because you believed his words came straight from heaven. Every morning I wrapped the tefillin around my arm and draped the talit over my shoulders. I whispered the ancient prayers, feeling the weight of centuries on my lips. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. I didn't just believe in God, I loved him. I thought that if I followed every law, stayed pure, and kept myself away from anything forbidden, then surely God would bless me. I spent countless hours at the synagogue, poring over the Torah with rabbis, holding on to every letter like it was life itself. Grandpa would often tell me, if you live by the Torah, your life will be blessed. And I believed him. I believed life had a formula, rules in, blessings out. But what I didn't see then was that my faith was rooted more in fear than love. I was terrified of doing something wrong, of asking the wrong question, of not being good enough. I didn't see it as a child, but looking back I realize I wasn't building a relationship with God. I was building a cage. Back then I felt secure. I thought I had all the answers. But the truth, my world was fragile, and one day it would all be shaken. Everything I thought I knew would be flipped upside down, and nothing would ever be the same again. I was only 15 when my world broke open. That morning felt ordinary. Torah school, studies, routine prayers. I remember reciting the verses like always, thinking nothing could shake the rhythm of my life. But all it took was one moment, one voice shouting my name to change everything. I ran home as fast as my legs could carry me, my chest burning, my heart pounding like a war drum. And then I saw her, my mother, crumpled on the floor, holding my father's scarf like it was the last piece of him she had left. Her cries didn't sound human. They were raw, hollow, like something had been ripped from deep inside her. That was the moment I learned my father was gone. He died in an explosion while on duty. One moment he was fighting for our country, and in the next he was just gone. No goodbye, no warning. At his funeral, the sky over Jerusalem hung heavy. Hundreds stood in silence, but all I could hear was the sound of my own breath, sharp and uncertain. I stood frozen beside his casket, the Israeli flag draped over it, and I kept thinking, this can't be real. I was supposed to believe he was in a better place. I was supposed to read the prayers, trust the words, hold on to the hope that his soul had returned to God. But deep inside me, something cracked. A voice rose up inside me, louder than any prayer I had ever spoken. If God is good, why did he let this happen? I had done everything right. I prayed, I obeyed, I followed the rules. But none of it stopped the pain. My father still died, my mother still wept, and I was left holding a faith that suddenly felt hollow. I kept praying. I kept rapping the tefillin. I kept saying the words, but they no longer stirred anything in me. They were just sounds, rehearsed, empty, and I was afraid. Afraid that asking these questions would mean I was betraying everything I had ever believed. But more than that, I was afraid that not asking would mean living a lie. I didn't know what was worse, losing my faith or holding on to a faith that no longer felt true. That was the first time I felt completely lost, not in the world, but in my own soul. I didn't know where to turn or how to make sense of the silence that followed my father's death. Maybe my heart began to harden that day. Or maybe it happened slowly, little by little, as I realized this world doesn't always reward the faithful, and it doesn't protect the weak. But even in the middle of my doubt, something in me refused to let go completely. Maybe it was hope, maybe it was pain, or maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of something new. When I turned 18, I joined the Israel Defense Forces. It wasn't because I was chasing some heroic legacy, nor was it out of a burning love for my country. The truth was, I had nothing else left to hold on to. My father was gone. My faith was shattered. I didn't know what my life meant anymore. So I chose the only path that seemed to make sense: survival. Military training was brutal. We ran for miles under the scorching Negev sun until our legs gave out. We learned how to fight, how to aim, how to kill, fast, before someone killed us. There was no time for emotion, no space for questions. We were told, this is how you protect your people, this is what must be done. But nothing prepares you for the real battlefield. Combat isn't clean or noble. It's not about strategy or glory. It's chaos. It's panic. It's blood on your hands and screams in your ears. I saw my closest friends fall beside me, laughing one moment, gone the next. The first time I held a dying comrade in my arms, I felt something in me break. His name was Noam. He was only 20. A single bullet to the neck, and suddenly he was slipping away. I pressed my hands over the wound, desperate to keep him here. But I couldn't. He died looking at me. And I realized something I wasn't ready to admit. God wasn't going to show up. I used to believe that if you were faithful, God would protect you. That prayer meant safety. But on that battlefield, I watched men pray with all their heart and still fall like everyone else. No miracle ever came. Little by little, I stopped asking where God was, and eventually I stopped believing he was there at all. I kept fighting. I kept moving. But inside, I was gone. No more fear, no more faith. Just a growing emptiness where my soul used to be. I had become a soldier, but in doing so, I had lost the person I once was. I used to wonder what death feels like. Is it sudden? Does it hurt? I never had an answer, until the moment it became mine. The bullet hit me straight in the chest. It wasn't slow. It was like being slammed by a wave of pure force, knocking the air right out of me. The pain followed instantly, sharp, searing, like fire tearing through my lungs. I tried to breathe, but it felt like the world was pressing down on my chest. I heard someone scream my name. I wanted to answer, to say, "I'm here." But when I opened my mouth, only blood came out. Then everything faded to black. But that wasn't the end. When I opened my eyes, the battlefield was gone. Instead, I found myself in a vast, endless desert. The sand stretched endlessly, but there was no sun. Only a strange, soft light hung in the air, as if the very atmosphere itself held the promise of something beyond. It was quiet, too quiet, not peaceful, unnatural. I looked down at my body, no wounds, no blood. I touched my chest, nothing. I should have felt relief, but instead I felt lost. Then the ground trembled. From far off, the sand began to twist and rise. Some things were crawling out, shadow-like, shifting. Their forms changed constantly, as if made of darkness itself. They crept forward slowly, and the closer they got, the more my fear grew. Whispers surrounded me, cold and soulless. "You belong to us." Panic surged through me. I tried to back away, but the sand beneath me was falling, giving way like a trap. My legs wouldn't move. They were stuck, heavy, as if the ground itself was claiming me. I wasn't on a battlefield anymore. I was in a place beyond reason, beyond control. And for the first time in my life, I realized I wasn't just facing death. I was facing eternity. The shadows were closing in. I could see them more clearly now. Not with faces, but with hollow voids where faces should be. Their eyes glowed like burning coals, piercing through the darkness. They had no mouths, but I could still hear them. Deep, twisted whispers flooding my mind like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. "You belong to us. I've faced death before. I've seen friends fall in battle. But this fear, it was something else. This wasn't fear of dying. It was fear of being claimed, of being pulled into something I didn't understand. I tried to move, to run, but the sand beneath my feet had turned against me, gripping my legs like quicksand. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by silence. I was sinking, and the darkness was hungry. Then, light. A sudden burst of brilliance erupted behind me, so pure and powerful that it lit up everything. The darkness scattered. The shadows shrieked, not with sound, but with a feeling that sent chills straight through me. Then they vanished. Gone. Silence returned. I turned around and saw it. A massive golden door stood in the air, unsupported by walls, floating in place. It glowed with a brilliance that shimmered like 1,000 stars. The carvings on it danced, alive with light. And beside the door stood a man. He wore white, simple but regal. His face didn't glow, yet somehow it radiated light. It wasn't the kind of beauty you see with your eyes. It was deeper, a purity that reflected something eternal. His eyes met mine, and in an instant I felt known. Every doubt, every wound, every ounce of guilt I carried for years, he saw it all. But there was no judgment, only compassion. "You do not belong here," he said. I could barely breathe. Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer. Instead, he extended his hand. "Follow me, and you will see the truth." Something in me stirred, something ancient, like I had been waiting for this all my life. I took a breath, stepped forward, and as I passed through the door, a soft breeze brushed against my face. And for the first time in years, I felt peace. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in a place I could name. There was no sky, no ground, just an endless space. Still, silent, weightless. The kind of silence so deep I could hear my own heartbeat echoing through it. Then, Out of nowhere, a massive mirror appeared in front of me, but it didn't show my reflection. Instead, it played the story of my life. Every scene I thought I had forgotten came rushing back. I saw myself as a child, kneeling beside my grandfather, hands folded in prayer. My eyes were wide with faith. Back then, I believed with all my heart that God was near, that He loved us, that nothing could shake that truth. But the images changed. I was 15 again, standing frozen in our living room. My mother was collapsing to the floor, the weight of my father's death hitting her like a storm. I held her tightly, but I was just a kid, lost, helpless, silent. Then came the battlefield, the soldier I had become, cold, number pulling the trigger without flinching. The dust, the chaos, the screams that still haunt my nights. I watched myself becoming someone I never intended to be, someone who had traded faith for survival. And then a voice broke the silence. "Why are you angry?" My fists clenched. The anger I had buried erupted. Because God left me, because He let my father die, because He made me walk through hell and called it purpose. The mirror trembled, and suddenly I saw something new. My father just before he died. He wasn't afraid, he wasn't angry. He was looking at the sky, and he smiled. A quiet, peaceful smile. Then I saw my mother, alone, still praying, not with bitterness, but with unshaken faith. Even in her pain, she still believed. "God never left you," the voice said. "You just stopped looking." And in that moment I felt it. Everything I had carried for so long, the blame, the hurt, the bitterness, it cracked. It didn't matter anymore. I looked back at the mirror, and I saw him, the boy I used to be, tears running down his face. I reached out and realized that boy had been with me all along. And then the light grew stronger, so bright I had to squint. When I opened my eyes again, he was standing there. A man clothed in white. Not extravagant, not grand in the way the world measures royalty, but still majestic beyond anything I had ever seen. The light didn't just surround him. It came from him, as if he was the source of everything pure I'd ever longed for. I wanted to fall to my knees, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, not in fear, but in awe. Then our eyes met. There was no judgment, no condemnation, just a love so deep, so overwhelming, I couldn't hold back the tears. A love that saw every corner of my soul and still embraced me. I tried to speak. My voice cracked. Who are you?" He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me, as if he knew every moment of my life. My wounds, my failures, the prayers I once whispered in the dark. Then, in a voice like still water, he said, "I am the one you've been searching for, even when you didn't know my name." My heart pounded. Memories rushed back. Prayers with my grandfather, silent questions in the night, the pain of war, the ache of being unseen. I whispered the name, not even knowing why. Yeshua. He didn't speak. He only extended his hand, and I saw them. The scars. I reached out, touched him, and in that moment everything changed. A peace unlike anything I'd ever felt washed over me. Not just peace, but safety, wholeness, home. Then I saw it. Visions I'd never read, yet somehow always known. The words of Isaiah. The blind seeing, the broken forgiven, sinners restored. And I knew. I had found the one I was always meant to follow. I saw him on the cross. I couldn't look away. His blood flowed slowly, drop by drop, soaking the ground beneath him. The wounds in his hands, his feet, they weren't just injuries. They were love, written in pain. Below him, people jeered, laughed, mocked. But his eyes didn't hold anger, not even bitterness. They held love. Even as he suffered, even as the world turned its back on him, he looked down with compassion. And then I heard his voice, not accusing, not condemning. "We died for you." That broke me. I collapsed, sobbing. All the walls I had built over the years, my pride, my defenses, my silence, came crashing down. I had spent so long pretending I didn't need anyone, that I could carry it all alone. But in that moment, I knew I was wrong. Tears ran down my face as I whispered, "How can I be sure?" He looked at me, his smile soft and steady, like sunrise after the darkest night. "Open your heart, and you will see." And just like that, I felt it. The peace I had been chasing my whole life. Not a passing emotion, not a fragile hope, but something real, something solid, like standing on a mountain after walking through a storm. Then everything around me began to fade. The light changed, the air shifted. I opened my eyes, and I was back. The harsh lights of a hospital room stung my vision. Machines beeped steadily around me. My body felt heavy, worn, but alive. And I remembered every detail. His face, his voice, the cross. I pressed my hand to my chest and felt it, my heart still beating, something I never thought I'd feel again. And I knew he had brought me back. I should have died that day, but I didn't. Instead, I came back. And I couldn't stop asking myself, why? When the doctors rushed in, I saw it in their eyes, shock, disbelief. One of them leaned in and said, "You're incredibly lucky. We lost you and for a few minutes. And then your heart just started beating again, on its own." They called it a miracle, but I knew it was more than that. After the nurses left, I sat in silence, my mind spinning, my heart still raw from what I had seen. I knew I needed answers. I needed to understand who Yeshua was and why he came to me. So in that quiet hospital room, I opened a Bible, not out of tradition, not out of curiosity, but with hunger in my soul. And for the first time in my life, the words weren't distant or symbolic. They were alive. The stories, the prophecies, the miracles, they weren't just history. They were speaking to me. His words pierced my heart. "You did not choose me, but I chose you." John 15:16. I thought I had been searching for God, but now I realized he had been searching for me all along. When I was discharged and returned home, I carried that peace with me, but also a quiet storm in my chest. I knew going back wouldn't be easy. I stepped into the house. My mother was praying, her fingers wrapped around a rose. My grandfather looked up, eyes sharp, trying to read my thoughts. "We thought we'd lost you," my mother whispered, her voice breaking. "It's a miracle." "It is," I replied, "but not the kind you think." Their expressions changed. I took a breath. I met him. I met Yeshua. The air shifted, heavy, still. My grandfather's grip on his cane tightened. "What did you say?" "I died." But he met me there. He showed me the truth. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice shaking with anger. My mother just cried silently, shaking her head. "Etan, don't say that. It's not real. It's just the trauma, the medication. Please." But deep down I knew what I saw, and nothing could make me unsee the truth. "No, Mom," I said softly, as tears welled up in my eyes. "I've always had questions. I've always been searching for God, but I was searching in the wrong places." I paused, gathering the strength to say the one truth I now knew with certainty. Yeshua is the Messiah. Before I could finish, my grandfather slammed his cane against the floor. The sound rang out like thunder through the quiet room. "Enough!" he shouted. "You've betrayed us. You've betrayed your ancestors, your family, your faith." My mother broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. "Ethan, you don't understand. If the community finds out, if this becomes known, we will lose everything." I looked at them, two people I loved more than anyone else in this world, and I felt my heart breaking. I knew my words were hurting them. I knew this moment would change everything. But I couldn't go back. Not after what I had seen. Not after meeting him. Once you've seen the light, you can't pretend the darkness is all there is. When I walked out of the house that day, part of me still hoped. I hoped someone might listen. I hoped that maybe, just maybe, my friends would see me. Not as a traitor, but as a human being. As Ethan. I was wrong. Word spread faster than I ever imagined. Whispers followed me everywhere. People looked at me like I was diseased. My name, once spoken with respect, became a joke, a warning. I tried to stay calm, tried to stay kind. I kept doing my job, showing up on time, staying focused. I thought if I just kept steady, maybe they'd understand. But the mockery grew. One morning I walked into the gym. Malik, a guy I once called a friend, glanced at me and smirked. "Well, if it isn't our holy man." Laughter exploded around me. "You joining the priesthood, Aeon?" Someone else sneered. "Going to save our souls?" I said nothing, just clenched my fists and kept walking. But the silence that followed was worse than the laughter. People I once fought beside, trained with, called brother. They wouldn't even look at me now. I had become invisible. Soon after, I was called into the commander's office. He wouldn't look me in the eye. "There's a lot of talk about you," he said. "I think it's better if we transfer you, somewhere quieter." I understood. This wasn't a reassignment. It was exile. The new base was buried deep in the desert, silent, distant, forgettable. When I arrived, I kept to myself. I didn't speak unless necessary. No one here knew my past, and maybe that's why, for the first time in a long time, someone actually listened. His name was Elias, a seasoned soldier, quiet, thoughtful. Most evenings I'd see him sitting alone, staring at the stars, like they held some hidden answer. One night during a mission, I caught him whispering under his breath. I couldn't hear everything, but one question reached me. "Maybe we're on the wrong path." I turned to him. "What do you mean?" He paused, then shook his head. "Forget it. Just sometimes I wonder if there's another way." I saw it in his eyes, that same search, that same ache I once carried. Later that night under the stars, I found the courage to speak. "I know what that feels like," I told him. He didn't interrupt, just waited. So I shared everything, the moment I died, the light I saw, the face of Yeshua, the truth I discovered. When I finished, Elias was silent. Then he whispered, "I used to believe too. But I've seen too much. This world. It's hard to believe a loving God is still watching." I nodded. I asked the same thing. That night changed something. We started talking more, reading the Bible together, exploring the prophecies, the Gospels, the truth I had once ignored. Elias didn't change overnight, but he started asking more questions, listening more closely. And most importantly, he stopped walking alone. Neither of us had all the answers, but we had each other. One evening I found myself thinking of people I once knew, people who had shared pieces of my life before everything changed. That's when I remembered David Ben Shimon. We'd grown up together, running through the streets of our neighborhood, kicking around a beat-up soccer ball, arguing about everything from theology to food. Then life split us apart. I joined the military. He moved away for school. I hesitated, then sent him a message. "David, it's Etan. Do you still remember me?" A few minutes later, he replied, "Etan, I can't believe it. How are you? We need to talk." We met outside the city. He hadn't changed much, but there was something new in his eyes, a kind of quiet peace. After catching up, I finally asked, "David, have you ever thought that maybe Yeshua is really the Messiah?" His eyes widened. Then, slowly, he smiled. "I've been wondering that for years." My heart raced. "You believe?" David nodded. "Not only do I believe, I've found others who believe too." He brought me to a small group. We met in a plain, hidden room. No signs, no showy sermons, just people, honest, searching, faithful. They welcomed me like family. We prayed, studied, shared stories of pain and discovery. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like an outcast. I felt like I had come home. I still think of my mother's tears, my grandfather's rage, their fear. I don't hate them, I love them, and I pray they'll understand one day that I didn't betray them. I followed the truth they spent their lives waiting for. And I've learned something. True honor isn't about being accepted. It's about standing for what's right, even if it costs you everything. So I began to write. Page by page, I poured my story into a journal. Not to defend myself, but to reach others who might feel as lost as I once did. This isn't just my story. It's a witness to something real. I don't know what lies ahead. I might lose more, be rejected again. But I won't go back. No matter the cost, I will walk in the light. Because now I know where I belong. And if you've made it this far, if you felt lost, broken, or afraid, let me tell you this. You're not alone. Don't fear what you might lose, because what you find will be worth it all. I was blind. I was bitter. I was empty. But God was never far. I just hadn't opened my eyes. Be brave. Be honest. And you will find what your soul has been searching for all along. I'm not telling this story to stir up controversy. I'm telling it because it's the truth. I used to think that faith was only for the weak, that I could handle everything on my own. Grief, loss, the battlefield, loneliness. But now I know true strength isn't in hiding pain, but in daring to face the truth. Even if it means being misunderstood, rejected, or even abandoned. I've lost many things, family, friends, my position in the military. But I've found something far more valuable, the meaning of my life. I've found real life. I've met the one who gave his life for me before I even knew who he was. Yeshua is not just a character in a book. He is life. He is the answer to the questions I once swallowed into my heart. He is the light that pulled me out of the deepest darkness of despair. I don't say this out of obligation. I say it because my heart can no longer stay silent. If you're feeling lost, if you've ever felt like no one understands you, if you've ever cried in the night with no one knowing, know this, you are not alone. I've been there, and I want you to know, there is still hope. There is a way. There is a hand always reaching out, waiting for you to come. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to open your heart. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. And ask yourself, am I truly living in the truth? Don't let fear keep you from what really matters. You might lose a few relationships. You might face criticism, but what will you gain? You'll gain freedom. You'll gain a peace that no one can take away. And you'll know that even if the whole world turns its back on you, there is one who never will. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you're lying in a hospital bed to begin searching for life. If my story has touched you, take action now. Leave a comment below. I want to hear from you. I want to know where you're from, what you're going through, and if you need prayer, say it. I and those following this channel will pray for you. Hit the like button if you felt something move in your heart. That small feeling could be the first step in a greater journey. Share this video with someone you love. They might need to hear this more than you realize. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This isn't just a storytelling channel. It's a place to be reminded of hope, truth, and the love of the one who created you. When you click subscribe, you're not just following a YouTube channel. You're joining a community of people seeking the truth, just like you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what battles you're facing, but I know the one who is searching for you. Open your heart, step forward, and you will witness something miraculous. I'm Aitan, once dead, but now alive. Not living for myself, but living to testify that eternal life is real. May God bless you. See you in the next video.